Sometimes when I'm thinking about us, before we got lost and we parted, back to back we would carry on and we'd do anything for what we started. But this time we could break. I'm running dry, everything's the same. We'll try tonight, but this time we're not safe and sound. Not safe and sound. Back we would carry on and we'd do anything for what we started. But this time we could break. I'm running dry, everything's the same. We'll try tonight, but this time we're not safe and sound. Not safe and sound. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? Yeah. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? Yeah. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? Yeah. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? Yeah. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? Yeah. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? Yeah. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me? Yeah. What if I'm no good for you? What if you're no good for me?
Welcome, everybody, to the FPV News for the week of May 23rd, 2023. Me and my co-host, Blunty, are going to bring you all the news from the previous week. How you doing, Blunty?
Good. How's it going?
Good. I feel like, hang on. Okay, there we go. I feel like I was a little too tall. I like our eye line to match up. No, that's better. That's better.
Fair enough.
Oh, you know, Blunty, I went to Rampage this weekend, Rotor Riot Rampage. I keep wanting to say the premier freestyle event in the United States, but I feel like that might be taken wrong by some who have, but it's certainly a big freestyle event. And I had a great time. And people asked after you. They said, hey, why didn't Blunty come? And I was like, yeah, well, So I just want you to know you were... Yes, I told him he doesn't like you specifically.
Yes.
It was because of you, person's name here. But you were missed. So it was a great time. And we'll talk a little bit more about that a little later in the episode. Like West Coast Throwdown's another great event. I feel like I don't want to get into like a West Coast, East Coast. I feel like, that ends up with Biggie getting shot. And I don't want the equivalent of FPV version of that. But, man, if Rampage is up there. There was some dope shit at Rampage, I'll tell you what. So,
nice.
We'll talk more about that. We have to let you know, though, that, let's see, no show next week, right?
That's correct. No show next week. No Q&As and no news.
Right. No live streams at all this coming weekend and into the week. I will be traveling, not for vacation, I guess Rampage. Well, technically it was work, but it was kind of a vacation. This will be a working trip. I will be away. So next week, and then I'll be back, and we will pick up. I do not have any live streams scheduled on my channel, so keep an eye on the channel for when the next live stream will be. I will decide. I'm getting back Saturday, but it's possible I'll skip Sunday just to have some time with my family after being gone for a week. Am I Biggie or Tupac? Wesley Vardy asks. I mean, so first of all, respect. I would never try to put myself on the level of like a Biggie or a Tupac. Those guys, talented people, and But between the two, that's tough. I don't feel like I know enough about like them as people to say who I would be more like. Do you have an opinion? Are you in on the rap, Blunty?
I'm 32, so I am on the rap, but not that rap.
Okay,
I missed the whole Biggie Tupac stuff. So.
All right, we're going to do a quick poll. And
if you'd like to know which rapper I am, the answer is 2 Chainz. As if we're looking for a rapper
why is that?
identify with. I think he's different, and that's sort of the whole thing.
Oh, I see. You're a fan of 2 Chainz. I see.
100%, yes.
Oh, interesting.
And what he does. Like, he bought a bunch of real estate when he made money. And, like, he's just an intelligent person, it seems like, who has fun and makes dumb lyrics and, like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I so I don't want to oversell it. I am not like, I couldn't, like, name 3 Biggie songs, okay? Or 3 Tupac songs. But, like, I'm aware of them as extremely talented musicians. I don't really know enough about like who they are archetypally in the world of rap to say who I'm most like. So I'm gonna make a poll, and you guys can tell me whether I'm more like Biggie or Tupac.
I like the way Biggie raps more. That's that's the only info I have.
Me too. And I'm not fat. Hey, shut up. If I were like Biggie levels of fat, then I'd be like, oh well, clearly I'm a Biggie guy. I'm certainly not as fit as Tupac.
I was gonna say, yeah, you're also not. Yeah, Tupac. So.
Yeah. Somebody's complaining about our volume level. Has your volume changed? Hang on.
I don't think so.
No, you.
Hello. This is me.
It's so hard to say. I'll turn you up a little just to make the people happy. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, now you're louder.
All right. Turn the beat up.
Yeah.
That's a
there you go.
reference.
Maybe you're just you need to shout more. So what is there to say about Rampage? That's on our news test. Rampage Happened. There's one clip that certainly we have to show, right?
Sure. I think that's required. Yeah.
It made Reddit, if that matters.
Fair enough.
Okay, so let's go to the Rotor Riot community, and let's just like see what we got. Here we got some pictures here. We'll just hit up some pictures. Got to take some pictures with some beautiful people. Let's see. I love this was done by let's see. Paul Hughes did this. Just a beautiful piece of art. Very lovely. We'll just keep scrolling. We had drift cars this year, and I'll tell you what. These drift car drivers, let's look at the footage. Drift car drivers are more similar to FPV pilots than I realized, because much like FPV pilots, drift car drivers break their shit and then spend all night fixing it. They scavenge parts from their vehicles to make other vehicles run. Like, it never occurred to me that you would do that with an automobile, but there you go. And, this was such a great addition to the event, Blunty. Have you chased drift cars at all? Have you had the chance to do that?
I have not. No.
I have. And in fact, I've complained about how FPV is like, no more drift footage. But it's gosh darn fun to do. And there were so many people who had never had the opportunity to do that. Like, if you live in Florida and you live next to a drift track and you could just go out every weekend in the summer and chase drift cars all you want, then it's like it's passé to you. But like, there were people who were just like shaking with excitement from getting to chase these cars, and it was just next level. I can't imagine how they're going to take it up another notch next year, but they said they had some ideas that might do it. And it was amazing.
Nice.
Yeah. Thanks to these guys, the drift drivers, for coming out. They were super cool, and they just tore it up while people chased them with nary a care in the world. You're going to be seeing a lot of that. Oh, here we go. And this, of course, is what everybody's here for. So we're standing on stage at the end of the event. They do a big, a thank you, and there's a little bit of a video presentation, and then there's a giveaway where we just throw a bunch of shit into the audience. Well, we throw props, batteries, motors. They were throwing Walk Snail VRXs, a couple of them. Just and I look out at the stage, and I'm like, we could crowd surf this, couldn't we? And then I'm like, yeah, everybody get in here, get tight, let's do this. And then I didn't realize that you're supposed to turn around backwards when you crowd surf. People have told me that that's like, you don't want people, I don't know. But there we go. I got to crowd surf. Lucky.
Good stuff.
I've never done that before. It was fantastic. I don't know. Does anybody in the chat have footage of the pit? I saw some footage of the pit that defies explanation. I don't know if anyone's posted it yet. I wish I could show it to you. It's certainly newsworthy. But I haven't seen. I hope somebody posts it. Nope, no one's posted footage from the pit. There's like this 45, 50, 60, I don't know, this pit, this concrete pit in the building, and people were flying in it and like clustered around it, like hordes of people cheering and flying, and it was bonkers. Anyway, so that's Rampage. You definitely, if you were thinking about whether you should go, you should definitely go. Let's see.
Nice.
Here. What else have we got? Oh, Blunty, I'm not sharing my screen with you. I should be, so you could be watching these beautiful presentations. I usually do that. Hold on, let me do that real quick. Okay, Blunty, let's enough of this. Let's get on with the real news. Public service announcements.
All right, it's time for the news. And the first news is going to be PSAs, like we always do. We start off with some PSAs, let people know some things they might need to be concerned about. The first one is somewhat weird. A lot of people are not going to run into this, but for people that do, they're going to be very confused, and it's going to be super frustrating. So, and that's basically what a good PSA is. Yeah, exactly that is.
It is.
So if you're using a local hex, if you've got a local Betaflight hex that you have, so for instance, if you're part of the Street League and you're trying to flash the Street League local hex on your Betaflight configurator 10.9, if you...
I don't have one.
Basically, at the top there, you see how you've got choose a board and choose a firmware version. If you leave those saying choose a board and choose a firmware version. Okay. And then you pick a local file. Yeah. What happens is it doesn't have the correct defaults configuration, the custom defaults, to be applied. So it picks them. It seems to pick them from those drop downs, but it picks them too early. Yeah. So essentially,
I'm downloading.
It will fill in.
We're going to demonstrate this.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I want to demonstrate this. So, because I apologize that I didn't download this beforehand, but I feel like this needs demonstration. So hold on, downloads. Okay, so we got a hex file here. So I'm going to go, okay, I'm going to load my custom hex. I'm not going to load it from online. I'm going to do load firmware local. Here's my hex file, okay? Okay, now I'm going to hit flash firmware, right? No.
Yeah, right.
What I need to do is because if I do, it won't know what custom defaults to apply. So I'm going to pick my target. Okay, great. Let's do that. But have I already screwed up, Blunty?
I'm not sure. It's not clear to me which step it loads the custom defaults at. The safest way to do it would be to pick your target before you load local.
Okay, so I want to pick the target, then I want to hit load firmware local and pick the hex, and then I want to flash it, and then at the end do apply custom defaults.
Yes.
And the issue is that if you don't select the target here, and if you just flash the hex, then when you apply custom defaults, you won't have a working flight controller. And that's caught some people out.
Yeah. Joey W. the chat says, wouldn't you just put in commit number, use older configurator for an older hex? It's not an older hex. It's a hex. I mean, it is, but it's a hex specifically built for someone with different code in it. So it's not like something you can enter in the configurator to pull. It's something you would like pull from a repo and then manually flash with that load local button. So this will be fixed in 4.5 because apparently in 4.5 they say, at least here, 4.5 will no longer have custom defaults.
But weren't custom defaults like important and a part of the generic targets architecture? They're not getting rid of generic targets.
All I can tell you from my information here is if you scroll down on that, we have an issue on Betaflight Configurators GitHub, and if you scroll down, Hashlingus's answer is firmware 4.5 no longer uses custom defaults.
Well, it's got to still use generic targets. It must just be doing something else other than custom defaults. But anyway, if you want to read more about this, you can read more about it here. Here in this, well, there's not very much there, but yeah, it did surprise me the first time I learned that when flashing a local file, you still need to select a target because, these do, but you do.
It seems to just pull the info in the wrong place because it automatically, once you hit flash, it fills in the correct firmware, like info, because it pulls it from that local hex. As soon as you hit flash, it like fills it in. But before that is when it sets custom defaults and it doesn't have the right info. So it's just like, it almost like does it at the wrong time.
Well, the hex files are generic targets. So they're like F722. You can't finish the board configuration until you select the specific target and apply custom defaults.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, so anyway, the little PSA there. Yeah.
And the thing that, like you were saying, the thing that makes this annoying is that when it totally makes it so essentially like soft bricks the flight control. You can't boot anymore. You have to hold the boot button to get into DFU because if it applies the wrong defaults, it's basically unassigning things to let you connect over USB is my understanding.
Oh, it's after you screw this up, USB doesn't work. And then people who don't know say, I bricked my flight controller. It's ruined. I'm out $70. And it's like, just hold down the DFU button. It'll be okay.
And then we get the combination of, and you've also soldered a receiver onto UART1, so now you have to desolder the receiver onto UART1, even though you're holding the boot button. So it sort of gets a little messy for people. So, just so you know.
Okay.
That's a PSA.
Okay. I've got a PSA that I ran into today, and I think that I'm not people have asked me about this, and I haven't known what was happening, and I've been confused. And the PSA is, if you are trying to use your Caddx Vista, and in the goggles, it keeps saying air unit not activated. Okay, fine. So you plug it into the computer and you start DJI Assistant. But DJI Assistant is just like, hey, cool, an air unit, and doesn't offer to activate it for you. And then you're like, F, what do I do? Here's the issue. The issue is that there are more than one DJI Assistant. What we are all using today is the Consumer Drones Series app because DJI has pretty much moved everything over to the Consumer Drones Series app. But when the Vista came out, you used the DJI FPV series version of the DJI Assistant. And what's confusing about this is that only the DJI FPV series can activate the Vistas. At least older Vistas, some Vistas. This was an old one. Maybe it's changed. But so what I had to do was plug the Vista into the DJI FPV series, activate it, and then go over to Consumer Drones and update the firmware, and then it was fine. But I was confused as heck for a while because it just said, you need to activate this. And then it didn't offer to activate it. And I was like, what do you want from me? And if you're running into that, I wanted to share that answer with you. Okay. Before we go on, let's end this poll, and we will find out. I am 70% of people say I'm Biggie, and 29% say Tupac. So, Biggie indeed. If I had to pick, that's who I'd pick. Just based on my. Okay. Starting. We ended the poll. We got some new cheaper options for flight controller MCUs coming up. Oscar Leong's got a story about it.
Yes, we do. We heard rumblings of this before, and there is a GitHub we've linked as well. But basically, yeah, so Oscar Leong let us know that there is a unit coming that has the flight controller coming that has the AT32F405 flight controller. And this is essentially, I asked multiple people. One person told me it was basically a clone. Another person told me it was a semi-clone. Meaning like the layout is meant to drop in, but it's not technically a clone because it's not using their code, right? But basically, it's meant to be a replacement, another option for the STM32 flight controller or the MCUs that we use on our flight controllers. But also, in addition to that, it's a lot cheaper and they're more performant by quite a bit.
Yeah.
So I think this is altogether a great thing.
Yeah, I mean, anything that could bring down the price of a flight controller stack, and certainly the MCU is one of the most expensive parts of it. I talked to someone in the industry who said that they thought that this could bring the price of an ESC and flight controller stack down by like half, which surprised me. That like I wouldn't think that it was that much of the total cost, but if that's true, that's insane.
You're buying a $50 flight controller and there's 100% margin on it. That means they're making it for 25, right? Like selling for 25 wholesale. That means they're making it for 15 to 20. That means if you cut $5 off the processor, that's 25 to 50%.
That's a good point.
That's a lot of money.
That's a good point. Yeah, when you go all the way back to the manufacturing cost, that's 50%. Say that's like 50% of 50%, and then $5 or $10 really adds up. That's a really good point. I don't know if there's any like downsides here. Like the same person in the industry who shall remain nameless because they didn't want to go on the record said, it'd be great to get cheaper chips. I hope they're good quality. There's a lot of weird shit going on in China right now, and until you actually see what you get, you don't know. Right now, one of the only companies, if not the only company, that is making flight controllers with this on it is Neutron RC. And I have no idea who the heck Neutron RC is. It's kind of weird that there's this new chip. Oh, it's coming. And then there's this new company. They're not new. Neutron RC has been around for a little while. But I would like to see a reputable, known company like an iFlight or a T-Motor or something, a Diatone, make a flight controller with this chip on it. And I obviously would like to see Betaflight support. If you can only get support in a forked version of Betaflight, obviously I'm not interested. But Betaflight 4.5 is going to have support. Is that right?
Yeah, we've got the pull request included that's already been pulled and or merged and accepted for 4.5. So yeah, once 4.5 hits, these will have support. Yeah.
Well, I would love to see the flight controllers get cheaper. It sucks that they're so expensive, especially given how often we flight controllers don't fry, but ESCs certainly are likely to fry.
I mean, I'd expect it's not going to be all roses. I'm sure we'll have other hiccups, getting into these and stuff. Also, the naming conventions are a little strange because you can't necessarily match them up directly to STM32, even though the naming conventions look similar. So just know that in case you're trying to compare, the specs are not the same. I've also heard that there's most of the peripheral stuff is the same, but there are also extra peripherals now that are in Betaflight that people have to help. Like if you're adding a component into Betaflight, something that's going to be supported across all processors, then now that's an extra workload for you to add. I don't know how many people that's even going to affect, but there's just little things like that. But I suspect overall this will be positive because it gives us cheaper flight controllers for the community. Like you said, as long as there's adoption by other companies. So.
Yeah. I wonder, Dominic Clifton has seemed, I think, is it official? Has he stepped back? I know he's super annoyed about Pixel OSD not getting picked up, and I have the sense that he is a little not as interested in Betaflight as he once was. I don't know if there's been any official statement about that, or public statement.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I have heard people say that he's one of the only people who really understands the deep down core code. And some of the I know he worked on a lot of the optimizations of the PID loop and the timing, the real-time operating system and so forth. And I can only guess that adding a whole new chip and a new architecture, is it a new architecture or is it just a clone of the STM on a new chip? I can only guess that adding new hardware like this will add some complexity that will have some unexpected consequences.
Yeah, and then I'll just say I think the other thing I've heard levied is that instead of these, even though these are sort of drop-in pin replacements, it might be better to do something like Risk V, where you have there's other people who are petitioning for those kind of options as well. So which would be another like companies sourcing. It's not sort of like attempting to clone another thing. It's its own thing, has promise in different communities for electronics and stuff. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see where all this ends up.
Yeah. I've also heard people wishing that they had put their effort into implementing Risk V instead of this sort of weird chip from God knows where. But there you go. The open source, they're going to spend their time where they want to spend it. All right. Well, we'll look forward to those getting cheaper is the bottom line. Next story.
All right. Next up, we've got Fly Tribe Magazine.
Yeah. Is that working? Yeah, it's working.
Fly Tribe
Magazine. Oh, look, I got one. I got one at Rampage, and
nice.
It is a magazine. They said they sort of tailored it against after Thrasher magazine. It's a magazine about FPV pilots, and what I want to do actually. So I have the magazine. I kind of wanted to show it, but there's actually an online version of it that I would love to look at with you guys. Here on the news, let me just scroll back to the first page, because like this really touched me in an unexpected way. Maybe I just have a soft spot for magazines because I grew up with magazines being a major important media for me. But like seeing FPV drones and FPV pilots in a cool magazine, like I was flipping through this and going, I want to be one of those people. Like I want to be hanging from the rafters looking for a drone, or like, who's this guy? He looks super interesting. Look at all his stickers and his like grizzled look, and like we got a link in the video description. You can go flip through it yourself. Like we got monster trucks, but like it's not just monster trucks. There's slat. The drones are in the shot. I don't know. I was super psyched. They got some, just tons of great photographs. They got some articles. More great photographs. And Pilot Spotlight. There's Bot Grinder. Like, just,
People
it was...
People in the chat are asking how to subscribe. If you go to flytribemagazine.com, you can sign up and they'll let you know when they're doing their next print.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is the first issue. It was a limited run, and they gave them all away. Or I don't think they've given them all away yet, but I talked to him, and he explicitly said, we're not selling any of the first issue. So if you want to look through at the first issue, Flytribe Magazine, the website has a version of it that you can flip through. The print quality is excellent. The like heavy paper, really good quality pictures. It's really well done magazine. And I don't know what his exact plans are. He said he was thinking it was going to be bi-monthly, so the next one wouldn't be out for 2 months. And I don't know what his exact plans are for subscriptions or whatever, but if you're interested, you should go to Flytribe Magazine and sign up, and then you'll find out more. It just feels real in a way, that to see like my people in a magazine like being cool and looking cool. I don't know. It really touched me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think are you gonna just like nod along? I know you don't. Yeah. I know you have a different opinion.
Yeah, I don't want to yuck anybody's yum, as the words are, whatever they say. It's cool if everybody's down with this, and I hope it goes well, and I hope everything's wonderful. I just think it's a little weird to be putting out a print magazine in May 2023. And I'm 32. I was not in the magazine era. I don't have any affinity to magazines. I don't see this and go like, oh, that's amazing because it's in a magazine. I think, why isn't this a website and why do I have to flip through it in some e-reader? Yeah. But I think that's maybe my age and my cynicism. And like I said, I don't really want to yuck anybody's yum. So I mean,
it is a website, but it's a website of that's pretending to be a magazine, right? So not quite the same. You might like to see similar content in like a blog format, perhaps.
Sure. Yeah.
You have no interest in a physical media being delivered to you, and like flipping through it.
Echoes of the past, but I understand that people enjoy that stuff and that people are into it. I'm not against that. So
I wonder what the age demographic of FPV pilots is. I mean, I could look at my YouTube analytics and see there's probably a fair number of people out there who feel that way about magazines because they're old. I don't know. Like, are there still like skate magazines in skate shops? Like, that's what this reminds me of. It has the feel of like an old Thrasher magazine. If you go into a skate shop, are there still skate magazines like over in racks by the door or whatever? I don't know. I don't go to skate shops.
None of our when we were skating, we were just like we were buying videos at that point.
No, so YouTube.
Yeah.
Well, I am super excited, and I hope you're wrong, but I acknowledge. I wanted you to say your piece because I think that's a valid perspective to be like, who's releasing print media in 2023? What's wrong with you?
Hey, I hope it goes well, and I hope everything's great, and I applaud them for putting this stuff together. But I just old realistic cynical Blunty is going to be honest. So
well, I'm glad I got one. I'm going to treasure it. I really do treasure this. It is it feels like an artifact from another dimension where instead of skateboarding, like there was FPV.
Right.
And this was a magazine. It feels like AMA magazine, but for FPV pilots. It's pretty cool. I hope there's more. And I'll say one more thing. It's exciting to see people focusing on communities and pilots that maybe don't get as much mainstream attention. Like, I look through this and I'm like, I don't know these locations and I don't know a lot of these people, although I know some of them after hanging out with them this weekend. And I'm like, I'm really glad that someone's giving, shining a light on them because they seem pretty awesome. So, anyway, that's Fly Tribe Magazine.
All right. FlyTribeMagazine.com.
Yeah, FlyTribeMagazine.com. Not a sponsored post.
Correct. All right. Next up, we've got a story about Min Chan Kim, MCK. If you follow racing in the drone world at all, you probably know who MCK is, Min Chan Kim. And he has announced on his Facebook in a public way that he is essentially taking a break from racing.
Mm-hmm. Let's read his statement. Congrats to everyone who ranked at race today. Was super fun to watch. I was having bad luck at a race, but felt and learned lots of things from this race. Literally anything could happen during the race, and so I'll take that risk to myself. After the race, I had lots of thinking. When I'm heading home, decided to take a break from racing. Hopefully I can come back later. I loved racing. Maybe I'll host a race. Thanks for those who supported me. That's kind of vague. There's some details missing there.
Yeah, he fills in some of that stuff lower down in the post as the post goes on, essentially. Where he details, I think he has another big thread there, and then he also replies to some different people's posts.
Yeah.
On his thread there. I think there's one main post that he... You
want to try and look that up?
Sure.
Let's see. I don't know if I see that.
Yeah, it's right here. Oh, it starts with, all right, to be clear.
Mm-hmm. So here's Min Chan elaborating. I'm not sad or depressing when I crash and my fault. So he was in a race and he crashed. I've done lots of races and crashed many times, and that made me motivated. But I had a video issue and during almost every round of qualifying. So I had to try changing quads every round, but it never worked, and early in the bracket. He's got video here of a person plugging in on him during the race. And he amazingly didn't crash out in that one moment. I don't know how that's possible. Oh, is this looping? Oh, no, it's looping. I see. Yeah. The judge told me they saw the feed from another person plugging in, and they saw some OSDs, but they didn't rerun the race. As a pilot, we need to take that risk ourselves as it's happening at a race. And Blunty, you pointed out to me before the show, and it's true, we don't know the details of the story. We don't know. We only know what Min-Shan has said. There may be more aspects of this that we're not aware of. And so I don't want this story to be, and you don't want this story to be, and I agree, us like saying, Min-Shan was wronged or something. But I do think it's interesting. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I think the way to approach this is from a factual standpoint of like, let's look at what we think happened, like what we're seeing happen, and then is that how we would run a race? Like, what should the rules be? What are the rules otherwise? I think is kind of the way to go about this. Let's think about this as if this is the case, and like what should have happened. And obviously, I think it's a no-brainer to say that, like, especially if the judges say it, but if you have in your DVR the OSD of another person while you're racing that caused you to crash or lose that race in some way, that should be a rerun race. I mean, that seems very, very obvious, right? It
seems obvious to me. And in fact, that is my understanding. That's what the multi-GP rule is. And if the judges said, well, you take that risk on yourself as a pilot, that's just nonsense. That's BS. Like, you see how fast the top racers go. There is zero room for loss of video for them to like be able to recover for that. If they do, good for them. But there's zero room for that. Video loss means a rerun of the race, as long as you can verify it.
So I think if you consider like what they could have meant by that, right? If we take it out of the context and we say, okay, if somebody says that statement, that makes sense if it's your hardware, right? So if my VTX breaks and I don't get video to but no OSD shows up and nobody plugged in on my channel, that's my fault.
That's your fault.
And I think that's where part of the confusion, that's what I would guess is where part of the confusion comes in. If this is your hardware problem, then that's your hardware problem. But if this is happening because somebody else is on your channel and you can see other people's information,
it's pretty clear. I mean, this is just one clip that he posted. It's pretty clear that this is somebody stomping on him. Like you know what that looks like if you fly analog. Someone's stomping on him, and we don't know whether that was, and we may never know whether that was intentional or malicious or just. But here's what I would say is, if during every heat you're having video problems where somebody's getting stomped on, that's on the organizers of the race. That's no longer an individual racer's issue. The 100%. Organizers of the race's job, in my humble opinion, not so humble, is to create an environment where a fair race can be held. And their job is to, if someone's plugging in all the time, they need to pause the race and they need to find out who's doing it and they need to go slap that person, or something. And that seems not to have happened.
Yeah, so I was talking to somebody in the Discord about this. I just wanted to... So T-Bell mentions in the Discord, on the racing side of the Discord, on your Discord, if people don't know you have a Discord, you can sign up for your Patreon and get access to the Discord where you can get a bunch of help and also chat with people. And T-Bell says another reason this can't go mainstream, there's so many ways to sabotage somebody during a race. And there's no time to argue your case when there's a tight race schedule, right? And that's the problem at every event I've ever been to, is we don't have time. We're moving. We have to keep moving. We're getting people on and off the line, and we're already behind, and everybody's always trying to catch up. It's hard to imagine a world where this isn't going to ever be a problem, right? Is everybody going to be flying digital that's like locked to key? You know what I mean? But then you can still bump the channel and then have to find an open channel.
RF transmissions are always susceptible to external interference. That's a fact.
Right.
The way that we deal with that in the real world is let's switch to my previous job as a Wi-Fi guy. Let's say you've got a Wi-Fi network in a building and someone is interfering with it, maliciously interfering with it. Okay. What you do is you get out there and you start with a sniffer and you start trying to find the source of interference. Right? You can localize the source of interference. You can triangulate it. You can look at security cameras and try and figure out who's doing it. That's a lot to ask of multi-GP race organizers who are all volunteers and but there are solutions for these problems
with extra time, right? Because you have to have time to do that, right?
Sure.
Like that's the big thing I've seen is that, like, okay, am I going to schedule every race to be 4 hours when I only need 2.5 because I'm going to spend an hour fighting issues, and like that's just part of the hobby? And I don't know. Those are questions I think we definitely have to answer if we want it to stay mainstream. You think about DRL, and I think DRL just has a lockdown on such a large area that it's really difficult if somebody wanted to maliciously interfere to do that.
Yeah.
So there's almost like the level of it creates that lack of interference.
Yeah, it's amazing. Frankly, it's amazing, and it speaks to the sort of good spirit of most racers that we haven't seen more of this.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's where it's at. And if you see Min Chan Kim not being at many races, that's why. We'll see how long. He's not going to quit racing. Like he's not.
I hope he'll come back. He's been in RC since he was like 3 or something. So hopefully he comes back and he gets back to what he loves to do. The main thing I would say is just do what you're happy with. You know what I mean? Don't do something because you think you need to do it. Do something because you enjoy doing it. So if it sucks to go there all the time and everybody is going to be a downer and you got people plugging in on you, I wouldn't go either. Yeah, no,
that's true. Yeah. It's just he's taken after Magnus Carlsen. There was that cheating scandal, and Magnus Carlsen said, "I'm not going to play in this tournament." Min Chan's like, "Oh, that's what I'm going to do." He'll be all right. He'll be back.
Are you implying somebody was RF jamming from their butt?
No, but I am now.
Okay,
that's
fair
too
enough.
Funny. Let's see how I'm going to do here. Go out and plugs.
This is the time where we do plugs.
Yay, plugs! Wait, but not from our butt.
Not from our... No, that's definitely not. Plugs for our things that we do. And the first one is going to be FPVknowitall.com, which is your website.
Yes, it is.
Where you can get the ultimate FPV shopping list. You can find things that people might want to purchase when they don't know what to buy. So you go to Cinewhoop pages like you've shown here, and you can figure out, hey, how do I pick some stuff? What do I need to get? You scroll down and you get all kinds of options for those things with affiliate links, so you can make a little bit of money too.
This is not appropriate, Black John Girl. This is not okay. I thought he made that just for me. It turns out it's not just for me. FPV, if you're ever wondering what to buy in any given category, what I recommend, FPVknowitall.com, ultimate FPV shopping list. In addition, if you're ever wanting somebody to get on the phone with you or get on a Zoom call and help you fix your quad, ItsBlunty.com is Blunty's website. He has an extremely reasonable rate for just stop emailing me. Just help me fix my stuff one-on-one in person. And he's quite good at his job too. What kind of problems have you fixed in the last little while, Blunty? Just to give people a taste of sort of what's going on.
I think the last person I helped, we did we went through 3 different quads, or 3 different issues, basically 2 quads and a radio. So I helped them set up the radio and then get Express LRS bound and then flash 2 different quads up to 4.4. So we could get them all working on SPI.
Nice.
So, a lot of people just like to, they're like, hey, I could watch a video and figure out how to flash my quad, but then I might get confused, or they might miss something in the video, or my quad might be different. I might have forgotten a step. Yeah. I could just get on a call with you, and then you could walk me through it, and then I'll know how to do it, and then it won't be a problem. So.
I had one today that was super interesting to me. I also do one-on-one calls, but I'm way more expensive than Blunty for whatever reason. So you should just call Blunty. But someone called me and hired me, and they had flashed the wrong target to their flight controller, and it was kind of working, but only 2 of the motors would spin, and they were a little confused. And they approached the problem as, I just need to get my transmitter working, my receiver working. And I was like, okay, well, I can help you do that over email. And they're like, no, can you please just get on the phone with me? And it's a good thing they did, because I got their receiver working, and then I was like, well, let's finish this guy's quad setup, because I noticed their motors weren't set up. And then only 2 of their motors were spinning. And wait a minute, why does a GEP RC Synolog have a Happy Model SX1280 target on it? And I realized he flashed it with the wrong target. And so I was like, hold on. And I was like, can I just take over your computer? Because usually I try to walk them through it. But I was like, can I just take over your computer? And I real quick looked up the target, flashed the target, completed the configuration for him, and at the end of the hour, he had a flying quad almost on the dot. And I was like, we couldn't have done that in an hour. So it was worth the money sometimes.
I'll say one of that guy, one of his quads, he was trying to flash but had trouble because he was flashing the Express LRS target and didn't realize he bought a Free Sky flight controller.
There you go.
So it turns out, if you don't know, if you try to turn on SPI Express LRS, the flight controller just reboots and then refuses to talk to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then you're like, oh, what's happening? My flight controller's broken. It's not responding. It won't even connect anymore. And it's actually just the wrong target. So
So, all right. Blunty will help you solve your problems. We want to let you know that there is a Joshua Bardwell livestream clips channel. That's where we take clips from my live streams and the news, and we upload them as little clips. If you don't get to watch the whole live stream, or if you just want to remind yourself, where was that one video I saw that was super interesting? We're almost to 10,000 subscribers. We'd love to have you as a subscriber, and just check out little live stream clips. Joshua Bardwell live stream clips. And finally, searchfpv.com is a multi-store FPV search engine where you can choose your region. You can choose whether to filter on in-stock products only, and then you search for the product you want, and it just shows you who's got it and how much it is. Anytime you're wondering, where can I find such and such a product in stock in the U.S., searchfpv.com is where I want you to go to help answer that question. And those are our plugs.
Absolutely. And next up, we're going to move into the rest of the show where we've got Cinematic of the Week. We've got 2 Cinematics of the Week because we've got so many cinematics we got sent in that we had to show a couple. So the first one's going to be, I titled it Rollerblading FPV. I'm not really sure the best title for this, but I thought this was pretty cool. It's a little sub-250
Is this
drone.
Italy?
Yes.
It's like so. Italy.
A little sub-250 drone they're flying around.
Yeah.
The Oddity RC XI20.
Cute.
As with Hero 8.
As with all cinematics, we're going to show you just a little taste of it. We definitely want you to go down to the links in the video description and check out the original creator. Give them some love and, of course, give them your views. It doesn't look like this is overly stabilized. It looks a little stabilized, but like selectively. I kind of dig it. It gives it a little bit more of a raw feel. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really
Looks
nice.
Like they had some fun out there shooting.
Good looking color. Good flying. Just a fun little topic. And something you can do with a micro that you really can't do with a bigger quad. Really nice. The other one is titled One Pack Around a Container Ship. Oh, this is 12 minutes. We'll have no trouble not showing you the whole thing. Go ahead, Blunty.
Yeah, I don't think we've shown flight around a container ship at sea before. So yeah, why not?
All right. Well, this guy is clearly like inside the container ship. He's got his session.
If you want to jump to like 5.5 minutes, somewhere in there.
Got a lot of sort of setting up going on. Maybe you want to edit this a little bit.
Yeah, like 5.5.
It is kind of cool to see the cabin. All right. 5.5 minutes. Okay. No, I want to see him walk up the ship. I want to see the ship. I can't see anything because it's just chest cam. All right, here we go. Oh, the little rock. I do that too. And away we go. No, not away we go. 5.5 minutes. Okay, Blunty, fine. 5.5 minutes. I know you said it. I wonder how much like the movement of the ship affects your ability to fly. Oh boy,
I don't know, but I can tell you the thing that makes me feel weird here when I watch this, is the moving of the water.
Yeah.
Like, there's this weird thing that happens where you could see the wake off the boat and all the moving of the water, and sometimes he's moving against, and sometimes he's moving with it, and I feel like that would really mess with my head, because it feels like the ground's either, like, not moving or moving away from you,
The idea that, like, the ship is just going to leave you. Like, right. I'm used to knowing that if I crash, I can walk over to where the drone is and probably get it back. But the idea that, like, the ship is continuously in the process of going bye-bye. Because, like, when you fly, it feels like you're in the drone. It feels like you are the drone, in a way. And, like, it would kind of scare me while the goggles were down.
Yeah, you're out in the middle of nowhere on the ocean. You got to
Just
get back to that boat.
Flippy flops, right? I wish he was doing more. It just looks like he's flying. I wish he was doing more of a kind of a cinematic presentation of the ship. The ship's probably not that interesting to him. He probably is just flying.
Right.
From my perspective, I'm like, show me the ship. I'd like to see it.
Like that right there, where like you could see the foam moving. Yeah, it's such a weird feeling.
Dude. All right. Well, like I said, I don't want to show the whole video. If you're interested in seeing more of this, you should head on over to the original subscriber. Go ahead.
Is this the next Rampage? Do it on the on the shore, and then we'll have them people chasing a container ship?
Yeah, no. I had a suggestion for how to take it up a notch. What's the next level up, or what could you do at Rampage? What's a thing that people like to chase that you could bring to Rampage that isn't a drift car?
Plane.
So we've done paragliders before. An airplane would be interesting. I'm not sure what the safety implications would be or the logistics of a plane, but you're right. Yeah. My thought was motorcycles, like, you know, the guys who jump motorcycles.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Or don't they? I mean, they have those ramps, and they can just take those ramps anywhere, right?
Like motocross, you mean? Is that the idea? Yeah.
FMX. You know, the guys who do backflips with dirt bikes. Those guys.
Right. Yeah.
So I was like, next year, FMX. Jumping, in addition to drift cars. We're just going to keep making Rampage better and better. Brandon Bean says that the same pilot has videos of him long-range cruising flower-covered hillsides while he's on the ship as it passes through the channel. That's kind of badass. Again, if you go down, you're not getting it back.
Yeah, but it is a neat way to see like what you're going by and all that kind of stuff. Might even be useful in some cases where you got to see what's going on, but I'm sure they have a lot of that taken care of on the ship already.
Oh, yeah. Brandon says there's tons of other content about the ship and everything on his channel. So he's got a ton of it. Maybe this wasn't necessarily the best video to start with. So go check out his channel.
This is certainly the one. We got a lot of submissions, though, so we wanted to share it.
Yeah, okay. By the way, if you think there's topics we need to be covering on the news, email news@fpvknowitall.com to let us know. Even if you think it's something surely we must have heard about. A lot of times we haven't. So we'd love for you to send it in.
Yeah.
We have got some events, Blunty, and I think I've finally figured out that the pink thing in the Google Doc is the thing that we are going to, not the thing we're coming from. I almost screwed that up just now. I was like, no, do it right. Yes, finally.
All right. Yeah, the first event we want to tell you about is a set of events. And the first one, basically the first one is going to be, sorry, hold on, let me pull the page up. July 8th and 9th in New Philadelphia, Ohio, but this is the Freedom Spec Tour. So you might have heard of Freedom Spec. Freedom Spec is the 533 gram minimum weight. You got to use specific motors. You got to use specific props. 6S battery, BLH 32, you know, basically some specs of spec racing, but a little lighter, 3S now. So you use 6S battery, but you scale it down to 3S with the Freedom Spec firmware.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, they're doing a series of races now. They're doing a tour, so it'll be Ohio, Tennessee, Colorado, Texas, Illinois, California, and ending it off in Missouri. So you might want to check out the Freedom Spec 2023 tour in your area.
That's really interesting. Tennessee, huh? Shocker. July 15th and 16th. I got to check my calendar. That's probably... I've never been to a Freedom Spec race. I'd like to try to check that out and maybe get a chance to fly one of their quads. Or maybe build my own Freedom Spec. Ooh, what a concept. If only I had a job where I was the boss and could decide to do anything I wanted. And yet still somehow I struggle with, what should I do today? Am I doing the right thing? You know, when I quit my day job the very next day, I got up late. I went out to First Watch and got some lunch and was like, this is the first day of the rest of my life. I can do anything I want today. I am the boss. I can fly drones. This is going to be great. And it's still great, but like that sense of ease, it's like I have meetings now. I have people who want things from me. I have responsibilities. And it definitely is not the first day of a new job anymore.
Fair sure. Enough.
I still love it. I thought I would go out and get brunch more often than I do. I really settled into a routine. It's just my personality. Like, I get up and I'm like, I gotta get my coffee and have breakfast with my family and, do this. And now I'm going downstairs and I'm going to work. What's wrong with me?
I don't know.
I don't know.
But the people appreciate your work ethic because they get plenty of videos and content.
Oh, well, thank you. That's very kind of you. We got one more event.
Yeah, the other event we're going to talk about is the Hartzell meetup in Colorado. This is coming up June 2nd to June 4th, so pretty soon here. If you don't know about it, it's hard to get some info because there's not much on the page. It's not a lot here. Yeah, we got told just before the show to mention it, so we wanted to at least let you know this was happening. Before, it's been sort of a camp and fly deal over the weekend in the mountains in Hartzell, Colorado. But yeah, you can sign up for the event and then message their discussion board for more information.
Yeah, okay. Great. Thank you for submitting those events. Next up, we are going to read Super Chats, and we only have one Super Chat, so it's going to be very easy. This Super Chat is from Teo. Thank you for a $5 Super Chat. Just wanted to say thanks. You and the other Rotor Riot pilots and staff were so approachable and helpful at Rampage. What was your favorite part? Thank you for those kind words, Teo. It's I'm going to answer your question. It's easy to be a little bit cynical about people who want to go to Rampage to meet their favorite pilots, because it's not cool to be starstruck. It's not cool to think YouTubers are celebrities. I got to meet Potato Jet. Potato Jet's a camera YouTuber. I don't know if you may not know him. I've watched his content. I think he's great. I think he's cool. And he was at Rampage, and I was like, whoa, it's Potato Jet. Oh, cool. I get to meet him. It's just cool to meet people who you watch their content. You want to meet them in real life. It doesn't mean it there's nothing wrong with that. And it's really great to see everybody. I hope there are no exceptions, being so cool and approachable and just willing to talk. So many people were there. Slat was there. Cricket was there. Steele was there. I'm going to leave out a bunch of other names of people who hopefully won't get offended. Just everybody sitting around hanging out. They're just people just like you. They just want to fly. And it's really great that you had that experience. So my favorite part had to be the crowd surfing. Sorry, that's the obvious answer. There's just this weird spur of the moment thing where I was like, everybody get in here. I'm going to crowd surf now. And then it worked. I fully expected to just get dropped on the floor. And then it totally worked. And it was such a rush. And that was my favorite part.
Nice.
Okay.
All right. Next up, and the last part of the news is barely news, where we talk about some of the stories that we didn't have. We don't have too much to say probably, but we got something we wanted to let you know. Hey, they're out there and stuff's going on. So, first one we're going to talk about is some testing from RCGroups. Basically, this is kind of a confirmation of things many of us know. Maybe you don't, but hopefully you do if you're buying batteries in this hobby. But C ratings are not legitimate. I don't know. That may be sit down because this may shock you. Mm-hmm. But C ratings are not legitimate.
Yeah, there's a lot of testing here by this. Who is this? Tail Heavy Creations. And there's a lot of data here. And if you want to go to the RCGroups thread and pick through it, there's a lot of information there that is well worth your attention. None of the batteries that he tests are FPV batteries. They're all wing batteries. But his conclusions about them probably carry over. And like, he has a standard testing methodology where he tests the battery's performance. Let's just leave it at that. And basically, his conclusion was that price and C rating had really no correlation to performance. So there were some bad, expensive batteries. There were some good, cheap batteries, and everything in between. And I'm really a little bit surprised of that result, because, like, I know that there's a lot of wiggle room in C rating, but I would surely expect, like, every 100C battery to perform better than every 70C battery or something. And it doesn't seem like that was his conclusion.
Yeah. Just to be clear, this is not Tail Heavy Productions is the video YouTuber, but this is MCS guy Jetman Joe.
Oh, thank you for that
RCGroups.
clarification.
Yeah, he's been here for about. This is the 11th year of this forum thread going on, where he's been doing this battery talk and testing.
I see.
Yeah.
So Tail Heavy Productions did a video about the testing, which was done by,
Yes.
oh, I see right here, which was done by MCS guy. Sorry for that confusion. This is barely news, because these aren't the batteries that we actually use, and we haven't really dug deep into the results. It's a very interesting test methodology, but it's all bullshit. So great. Good to know. So good.
Yeah.
Next up, we got a video about a synthesizer.
Yes. This is a synthesizer that uses drone motors.
The noise of all of these cooling fans is something that we are not used to in 2023, and I can almost guarantee that if you own this, you will not be leaving it on in your studio when you're not using it. But we haven't even turned the discs on yet. I'm going to admit that I'm a little bit relieved to not even have
a synthesizer that uses drone motors with optical layers on top of the drone motor, and then spins them, and then uses that optical reading for the synthesizer oscillation, oscillator, like for the waveforms.
Okay.
So it's essentially
the digital
making a
oscillators turned down
to digital version of what you would normally produce, digitally or through like another analog chip.
Got it. Let's hear it.
So there's multiple modes.
Uh-huh.
So he should go through them, where he shows that there's like there's a switch. That switch he's showing on the left there.
And then this is M, the magnetic pickup.
So there's a magnetic pickup that they use from those drone motors also to make noises.
And so we could mix that with a saw from this second voice. And we could also cross-modulate the voices, even if we turn this one.
Okay. Well, that's kind of cool. The motors, I thought the motors would be making the sound when I first saw this headline. I guess they are participating in the making of the sound.
Yes. Yeah, they're producing the like the waveform and stuff.
There are people in the chat who are way more excited about this than I thought than I am. People who are like really into. People get really into synthesizers.
Yeah. So just to point out, this is a $3,300 synthesizer, and this is also probably only 1,000 units. So this is like hey, we made a cool thing, we made a run of them, and now we're done, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I don't think this is like a new trend in the synthesizer market, but it seemed neat. So
analog synths using motors? Yeah, it's evolving just backwards. How do analog synths usually do this? It's with like capacitors and inductors, right?
I assume so. And then I assume newer stuff is all chips, right? Like,
yeah, those are digital synths.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, we've got a manned drone that I'm actually more excited about than some of the other quote-unquote manned drones that don't really seem to fly very much. The Hexa lift.
Yeah. The Hexa lift is a $495,000 one-man human drone that you can fly around.
Mm-hmm. It's got a lot of redundant props and very small props. I've actually seen this. We've talked about this previously, I think. The props don't look as small now.
Yeah, I don't think we showed this specific one. There's about 20 of these different companies making one of these.
There's a clip in here that I think is well worth showing, which is that it releases the parachute. They've got a sample of releasing the parachute. Did I accidentally skip past it? Yeah, there it is. There it is. So the damn thing has a parachute, like a jet-powered parachute to try to help you if you're going to fall. Oh, we're testing. Oh, yeah. These guys are serious. As much as this doesn't look like a sexy sky car of the future, it actually looks more like... It doesn't have a lot of cargo, I guess. It looks more plausible in some ways than some of the other ones I've seen. I want to fly one. So he actually gets up and he flies it. Dude.
Yeah, I'll wait, Like that's where I'm at.
You're not psyched. I mean, I don't know how good it would power loop. I mean, what impresses me about this is that the damn thing actually flies up in the air with a person in it. And I know that's, seems like a low bar, but you look at the footage of the Jetson 1, and maybe this has changed, but all of the footage of the Jetson 1, it's skimming the ground. It's not, I mean, it's technically flying, but it's more like a hovercraft in my mind than an aircraft.
Right.
It feels like it's not actually letting the pilot fly it. It feels like the pilot is just driving it and it's hovering above the ground without the pilot's control. I don't know if that's true or not. That's what it seems like. Like they don't show any footage of it ascending to 50 feet and then coming back down. And like for an aircraft, that seems pretty minimal. Like one of the minimal requirements. It does look cooler though. Alrighty. Next up.
DroneUp is cutting job. We talked about DroneUp delivery from Walmart, and we've mentioned how we don't think it's really feasible, and it's probably just investor-backed hype that's building this stuff because it probably can't be that cheap to deliver stuff. And DroneUp has started layoffs. There's only 2 confirmed layoffs, but DroneUp confirmed they are doing layoffs. It's not much of the company.
2 layoffs.
It basically triggered them to ask DroneUp, and DroneUp said, yes, we are doing layoffs, but it's not that many people.
Extremely slowly. We just didn't like Bob and Sue. Don't tell them.
It says they're letting go of a small percentage of the team, which is 418 people. So you would think that would be maybe 4, 8, 10, 12 people, depending on how they define that.
We got to get rid of Bob and Sue. Okay. We're doing layoffs. We'll start with Bob and Sue, and then maybe we won't lay any more people off. Meanwhile, Bob and Sue go to the news.
Abraham says, seriously, who is DroneUp? DroneUp's the major drone delivery company we've been talking about for a long time other than Zipline. And they've been doing, tons of deliveries all over the place. However, one of the biggest problems is, I think, just getting approval to actually do these deliveries, BVLOS with multiple operators. Like, there's a lot of certifications they're not able to get from the FAA to make things cheaper and easier to operate. However, here's something this is where I know there's a problem. This is how I can tell you there's a problem with DroneUp. I'm not psychic, but I can tell you, as somebody who's run a business before, here's how you know, okay?
Okay.
Let me read these back to back. DroneUp has confirmed the job cuts and strategy change and said in the email that layoffs hit a small percentage of the team, which now totals 418 people. The company said that over the next 6 months, we will hire more people than were laid off.
Why does that mean they're in trouble?
Because why are you laying people off? you're hiring people again to lay people off. So either you're getting rid of expensive engineers and replacing them with cheap people, or I mean, you know what I mean?
You're getting rid of one department and replacing it with another department.
Right. Like what good reason is there to cut part of your staff and then hire more than the people you cut in a company that's operating properly instead of shifting those people into other departments and like who are already ingrained in your team? You have to redo hiring for those people. How much does it cost per person to hire? Insurance? Like, yeah. I mean, it's not just like, hey, somebody else come on in. You know what I mean? So
you would really like to move them around if you could.
I mean, a successful company would attempt to move people around, yes, unless they felt like there was some kind of like, we had a coup of 12 people and we had to get rid of them. You know what I mean?
That's what I think happened. That's what I'm saying.
Which also does not bode well for DroneUp's management and situation.
Fair. All right.
So.
Next up, we have 2 flight controllers and 1 quadcopter. And is this a 2 girls, 1 cup pun? Is that what you're doing?
No, I was not.
Okay, sorry, just me. My bad. We're looking at Gal Kremer's channel. Love Gal Kremer.
Yeah, so if I said to you, hey, what happens if I put 2 quadcopters back to back and taped them together, essentially?
Okay.
What would you say?
Like, the obvious answer is that they'll fight and the thing won't fly, right?
Yeah.
But I think that's not going to be the true answer. So let's dig deeper. I mean, the whole point of a flight controller is to detect external influences and, work with them, right? Or counteract them. Could it be that they will find some synergy? I don't know. Do we get the answer?
We do. As a matter of fact, not only do they find synergy.
For example, when some motors are not.
Yeah.
But they find synergy no matter how many props you take off, pretty much, until you get down to 3 props.
Oh, yeah, it's flying.
So not only does he do testing to show that it flies and operates, everything's stock. He did not PID tune to do this. Everything's just stock Betaflight. He's got the TX line coming out of the Express LRS receiver to both flight controllers, so they both get the same control input. And then he just slowly starts taking off props and testing it again.
I mean, does this have actual potential for, like, you've got redundancy here of everything except the receiver. Does this have actual potential for Synlifters?
You've also added a fault, technically, though.
What's that?
If either gyro messes up, you're fucked.
Yeah, that's true. You have twice as many gyros to fail.
So the way you would really want to do this is have, like, basically 2 gyros on each FC or something, and then do like a 4-bang where they all decide with each other. You know what I mean? You'd have to do something like that, I think.
That's pretty cool.
But other than that one fault that you had, where if either gyro fails or has a lot of noise, you have problems. It's a pretty neat idea because, you can lose up to 4 motors and everything's fine.
All right. Well, I wonder how Gal got the idea to do this. We got some swarm technology news here. Go ahead, Blunty.
Yeah, so we wanted to let you know, in the ever-increasing news of military takedowns of drones, the Air Force Research Laboratory has tested another microwave swarm drone solution, basically. We talked before about a test from the DoD, where they tested the Epicurus unit, which was basically like a fold-up unit that was a trailer, and you fold it open and it can take down a swarm of drones at once with different microwave waves. And this is basically another company has produced a similar device for the Air Force and can do a similar thing, where basically if there's a whole swarm of drones out there, they just hit a button. This thing lets them pick which drones they want to take out of the group, and it just like blasts high frequency microwaves at each of the drones and knocks them out of the air physically and disables their
so it's like targeted.
Yes, it's specifically targeted. They use GANFET, and they have like an array. So you can do multiple shots at multiple angles with one device.
That's very interesting.
And they're precise enough I think it's within like 3 feet, there can be like another drone right there, and it will not mess with the other drone. It'll be just the drone.
Wow. That's really cool.
Yeah.
We got one more. We always like to finish with some good news of drones helping find lost people. We usually prefer dogs, but people will do. And here we've got drones rescue. We've got ads. So many ads. Why is my ad blocker not working? Oh my God. Oh, Daily Mail. I must have... Daily Mail must require me to pause. This is atrocious. Is this what the internet looks like to people who don't run ad blockers? This is
Apparently.
awful. This is just vomit. This is just terrible. The fuck? How do you live like this? Okay, anyway, back to the...
All right, our last story we want to finish up and let you know that, another person was found and recovered. A woman who broke her leg in the woods was recovered after 8 hours by 2 different infrared drones that were going around hunting, and finally were able to find her in the woods and dispatch help.
Yeah, and here we see 2 bandits kicking her while she's on the ground and stealing her stuff. I don't know why they didn't do more to stop that, but glad that she got rescued eventually. And now I'm going to come back to the news and look at the face that you're making. Okay.
All right.
I don't know. Oh, and that's going to bring us to the end of the news.
Yes.
As a reminder, we will have no live streams this coming weekend and week because I'm going to be traveling. And we will be back. News will surely be back the week after this next week. But we'll have a week off. And make sure you send in all the news that happens during that week to let us catch up on it.
Yeah, you send in so much news that we'll have just like so much, we'll just have such a long show. All the news. Give us all the news.
Okay, great.
Okay.
We are out of here today, though. Thank you plenty.
Yes.
Oh, good. One
Thank
person
you,
loves
Joshua.
my humor. And it's not Blunty. All right, bye, everybody.